Good afternoon, sir.
Vijay,
हाँ sir.
I'm online.
Okay sir. Yes sir. Yes sir. Your voice is audible, sir.
Okay.
Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, whenever you say, I'll start.
Okay. Okay. So, dear participants, now we have with us Dr. Nitin Singh, sir. Dr. Nitin Singh is currently working as an associate professor in Department of Electrical Engineering, MNIT Allahabad, Prayagraj. He is an alumnus of Motilal Nehru Institute of Technology, Allahabad. His primary area of research of power system planning, electricity markets, artificial intelligence, implementation of optimization algorithms, and machine learning techniques for power system optimization. He has published more than 45 publications in international journals and in proceeding of international conferences of repute. He is serving as a reviewer of several Scopus, SCI, and ESCI index journals. He has organized several international conferences under the banner of IEEE and Springer. He is a member of IEEE Computational Intelligence Society, Power Energy Society, and Industrial Application Society. He is currently serving as Secretary, IEEE Joint Chapter of Industrial Economics, Electronics, Power Electronics Control System at MNIT Allahabad. So herewith, I request Dr. Nitin Singh sir, to proceed with the presentation. Sir.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss the. Uh,
Sir, please share the presentation PPT you are having.
okay. Okay. I'll just share. Is it visible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Vijay, for giving me an opportunity to speak to the audience of this particular course. And we are going to discuss something related to electricity price forecasting using artificial neural network. So before that, I'll just elaborate upon that what is artificial intelligence and why it has been so important in last few years or maybe last decade that people are talking about artificial intelligence in almost the application of artificial intelligence in almost each and every field of engineering or biomedical or any field that you can think of. Artificial intelligence now it's actually finding a way in almost in all fields of society, right? So the history of artificial intelligence, it started from 1940 when the first computing machine was developed, and thereafter it was going on till 1980s, in which the concept of neural computing and the swarm intelligence was introduced. And from 90s onward, we have got hybrid systems. That means we have got fuzzy neural networks, and we have got different forms of neural networks. We have got hybrid models of fuzzy and neuro that you know by the name of NFIS, and so on. And beyond 90s, the research is actually going on in the area of computational intelligence, soft computing, or intelligent systems. Right, these three names, I think all of you must have heard, and these three names are actually one and the same thing. Right, so the bigger umbrella is artificial intelligence, and under that umbrella of artificial intelligence, you'll find different terms like you find the term of computational intelligence, you find the term machine learning, you find the term deep learning, you find the term computer evolutionary computing, or maybe soft computing or intelligence. So the bigger umbrella is always the artificial intelligence. So these three terms basically cover the systems, the adaptive systems, fuzzy systems, neural network and its application, then evolutionary computing and its application, and data mining. Right. So first, when we just go forward, I just want to show you this particular graph in which you can see that artificial intelligence is essentially the umbrella of all these things. And just under the artificial intelligence, you will find the concept of machine learning, which was flourished in last few years. And now the concept of deep learning is coming, which is again a subset of machine learning only, right? So artificial intelligence is something which enables the machines to mimic human behavior, that we know. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence technique which uses statistical methods to enable the machines to improve with experience. And deep learning, it uses the concept of computation of multi-layer neural networks so that the learning can be enhanced and we can improve the overall performance of the system. So if you go with respect to year of evolution, then you can say that artificial intelligence started from 1950s to 1970s. The concept of artificial intelligence was very famous, and then the subset was formed, which we call as machine learning. It started from 1980s to 2006. The concept of machine learning was very famous, and people are trying to develop algorithms for machine learning and so. And now from 2006 onwards or 2010 onwards, you can say the concept of deep learning neural networks is now coming up in a big way. And you will find various articles or maybe various research, not in just the field of electrical engineering, but in other fields as well, especially in the field of medicines and biotechnology. The concept of deep learning is now becoming very famous day by day. Right. So if we just look at the concept of machine learning applications, and if you just look at the areas that where it can be applied. Vijay, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Perfectly.
ठीक है. Whenever there is a doubt, you just let me know because I'm just
Sure, sir. I am watching the chat box. If any queries will be there, I will
okay
let you know,
because
sir.
I'm not able to see it. I'm just sharing my screen. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, sir.
So machine learning applications, if you just look at the machine learning applications, then almost every field has now got the the application of artificial intelligence or machine learning onto it. So starting from healthcare, newer drug discoveries, I think we all are now having this lecture online just because of one thing that we call it as corona pandemic, and we are all very hopeful that someday we'll find a vaccine for that, and maybe that vaccine is useful for the mankind. So drug discovery is one thing in which artificial intelligence has found the way. Then disease diagnosis, another. Then your robotic surgery. So these are some of the important aspects where your machine learning application has taken a leap in healthcare. Now going to financial services, you have got trading, portfolio management, fraud detection. Fraud detection is very important because now I think all of us are relying on the online transactions. The banks are relying on online transactions, and for that they're
Sir,
trying.
sir, there is some technical problem. Sir,
Uh,
your screen is not visible. I think,
my
sir,
screen is not visible. Okay, okay.
sir,
Let me
the
try.
presentation.
I'll just go once again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Is it better?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Better, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I was talking about is that how the machine learning applications is growing day by day. So started with healthcare. That in healthcare you will find the application related to drug discovery, because newer and newer diseases are coming every day. So we need drugs for that particular disease, and the diagnosis of the disease is also important because we need to uh, diagnose the disease properly, because we are not going to rely just on the concept of it is being diagnosed with the help of doctors only. So people are developing algorithms so that we can scan the CT scan, or we can do the X-rays, and there should be some machinery so that the X-ray can be read by the machine, and it can give you uh, a recommendation that the person may suffer from this kind of disease. Then financial services, in trading, portfolio management, fraud detection. Fraud detection is very important because nowadays we all are relying on online transactions, be it from Paytm to PhonePe to Google Pay. All of us are doing a lot of online transactions, and we want is that what we want is ki our money should not go to some fraudster, rather than it should go directly to the person to which it has been intended to go. So again, this thing is also coming up in a big way. Then in transportation, you have got safety monitoring, air traffic control. All these areas include machine learning, social media, sentiment analysis, filtering spam, etc. This thing I think you must have heard also. Ki Facebook is doing some kind of sentiment analysis in some countries for knowing that which party is in favor, or which party is going to get the maximum votes. Right. So again, this thing is dependent upon that how people are thinking at that point of time. So for these, we need some algorithm so that we can analyze the. This is what comes under the purview of big data analytics. We are analyzing the statements on Facebook. We are analyzing the statements on Twitter, and then we get to know that what people are thinking, what is the journal consensus, how the people are thinking, and what is the main agenda. Right. Then you have got virtual assistants. Be it your smartphone today. If you talk about Samsung, you've got Google Assistant. If you have talked about iOS, you have got Siri. So for different operating systems, you have got different kind of virtual assistants that have come up. In fact, if you go and visit the websites now, websites related to say banking website, or maybe website related to general insurance or health insurance, then automatically you see that there is a smart assistant that comes up. And what is the duty of that smart assistant? That it assists you for normal problems. Like if you have got a query which has been already raised by many people, then what it will do is will give you the same answer. And if you want something additional, then it will direct you to the person so that the person may solve your problem. Similarly, your e-commerce, Flipkart, Amazon, they all are relying on the product recommendation, customer support, and advertising. Like if you go to Flipkart and if you search for shoes, then from next time onwards, whenever you visit any website, right, they will give you a recommendation that the price of that particular shoe has been reduced from say 4,000 to 3,500 or so on. So they keep on tracking the person, that what is the interest of the person in past few days, and they will recommend the devices, or they will recommend the solutions, so that the person can see that for my kind of search that I've done, suppose if I've searched for some hotel room, I want to visit my family, or I want to visit somewhere, I want to go on holiday, and I'm searching for some hotel room on Ola, and at that point I find that the room is very costly, I should not book it. Then that intelligent system or recommender system, what it does, it will know that that Mr. Ritin Singh is looking for a room, then it will keep on searching the room for me, and it will keep on giving me the probable solutions, like okay, the room now is cheaper, or you can have the similar room in this hotel which is cheaper by 10% or 20%. So it is beneficial for me, because with all these I am able to optimize my time, and I am getting benefit in terms of money, right? So uh, expand. Am I audible, Vijay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, but screen is not visible now.
Screen
It
is
is
visible
not
now or
visible.
not?
No, sir. Actually, you have to click on present now.
Just
Actually, I don't know. It got hanged because of some network issues or something. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Still not going in the same direction.
Now visible, sir.
Visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay, so guys, based on this machine learning or artificial intelligence, these are some of the companies which have startups which are based on artificial intelligence, and the numbers are actually increasing day by day, right? And you can see that the fields in which you'll find that there is lot of artificial intelligence which are now coming up, and you can see almost every field that you can think of, right? You have got artificial intelligence is a part of that particular field in some way or other. Like if you just start from this, you have got text analysis generation, then you have got IoT, Internet of Things, all the devices now being controlled using artificial intelligence, commerce, insurance, other sectors, healthcare, sales, cybersecurity, robotics, auto, vision, conversational or robots. These are all these intelligent tools that you can think of. Business intelligence and analytics, core AI. So you see that there are a lot of artificial intelligence which is now coming into picture, and there are a lot of companies which are opening up so that artificial intelligence can be included in some way or other, right? If you guys are on internet, then I suggest you that you please go and see a series that the world of artificial intelligence, right? There is a series on YouTube. There are 7 or 8 what you can say episodes in that particular series. You just go and see that series so that you might come to know that the word AI, how much we know the word AI, and what is the real application of AI, where it is growing, where it is helping the human beings in making the better life, right? So I just suggest all of you to please go and watch that series, The World of Artificial Intelligence. It's a very good series on YouTube. Right now, once it comes to making a system, then we should see that what are the different relationships among the components of an intelligent systems, right? First, we should sense the system. Then you should have world with the model knowledge, output, right? Now this sensing, the raw data that we sense is actually going to the pre-processing algorithms that we have, right? And it is giving the world model knowledge. That means it is giving some kind of information to the world that how the model should be formed. And this process data is also helping in forming the adaptation and self-organization. Right. So this is the concept of artificial intelligence systems or intelligent systems in general, and how do they interact with the real world. Or we can say that a simplified view of computational intelligence system can be the process data and the embedded knowledge. They together help in forming the model to adapt and self-organize so that we can get the output in terms of predictions. Predictions means forecasting or any predictions related to business, some decisions that we take in our day-to-day life. For example, if I want to buy a share, and if there is an intelligent tool which will tell me, okay, after a few days, the value of this share is going to go up or down, that might help me take a decision based on the knowledge. And then you have got generalizations, reasons. These are all used for robotics, that how the system is going to behave, what will be the output from the system. So all these things basically form the complete part of computational intelligence. Like this is the statistics, this is the application of AI in US market. So this is very interesting. I'd like to discuss. If you see from 2000, this is the y-axis is actually the market in million US dollars. Are the slides visible, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
एक्चुअली अब बहुत देर तक कंप्यूटर से बात करते रहते हो ना, तो बीच बीच में डाउट होता है कि visible or not.
No, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay,
Perfectly.
thank you.
Okay.
So y-axis has got market in the million US dollars and x-axis is time. So right now we are in 2020, and you can see that the AI market in general is less than 200 million US dollars. But you can see that by 2025, within next 5 years, the growth in the market of related to artificial intelligence is going to be tremendous. It is going to cross 800 USD, and this blue and black and violet actually is telling you that blue is the software. You have got software market, which is more than $800 million. Black bar graph is services related to service, and this violet or gray is actually the hardware related market. So you can see that within 5 years from now, the AI is going to come up in a big way, and that is why people are now studying the use of artificial intelligence in engineering. Even some of the IITs and IIMs, they have introduced the course related to artificial intelligence, data science, data analytics. These all actually come under the purview of artificial intelligence. All the major companies, right from Google to all bigger manufacturing or hardware industries, they're looking for the people who know artificial intelligence and how it can be applied for the industrial processes, right? So I think it's again hand. So with this, I'll just define what is artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is the process or computers with the ability to mimic or duplicate the functions of the human brain. That means we somehow want that human brain should be duplicated so that the machines can be used like a human brains. And artificial intelligence systems can be related to the people, procedures, hardware, software, data, knowledge needed to develop the computer systems, machines that demonstrate the characteristics, intelligence, and so many things. So you can have artificial intelligence in form of anything. Hardware, like any hardware, for example, if somebody has lost a limb, maybe a leg, then people are now devising the artificial limb with the help of artificial intelligence system so that it can sense the nerves which are still there, and it can take the action appropriately, right? It can be in form of software. Is a lot of algorithms which are now being built around artificial intelligence, and a lot of people are using it. So it can be in any form. So what is involved in intelligence? It is the ability to interact with the real world, that how we interact with the real world, then how we reason and plan, reasoning and planning, and learning and adaptation. So these are the three main components that you want them to be there in intelligent systems. That they should be able to interact with the real world. For example, if I'm sitting on my desk, I'm sitting on my computer, I'm sitting with my computer, and I'm talking to the intelligent, what you can say, an intelligent device, then I want that my queries should be resolved. So the device should be the device should be able to understand the problems that a person can have in that particular domain. Maybe if I'm talking about insurance, then you have got some other kind of problem. If you're talking about some healthcare management thing, then you have got some different kind of problem. Reasoning and planning, learning and adaptation. So all these they do come under the category of artificial intelligence, or this is what is involved in artificial intelligence. Now, these are the major branches of artificial intelligence: vision systems, robotics, expert system, learning systems, natural language processing, and neural networks. I think I've discussed all these things कि जब हम विजन की बात करते हैं तो it essentially deals with every algorithm or every process that is done for making the robotic vision a reality, right? And so on. So these all branches, or you can also describe them based on the these are the major applications of artificial intelligence systems in image recognition, natural language processing, portfolio management and prediction of stock, drug discovery, in health sector basically we can say that, then your speech recognition, and robots and self-driving cars. I think this robot and self-driving cars, you must have heard also that the Google is coming up with a self-driving or driverless car which is able to take you to the destination without any driver. So all these things are they have come up. Some of them have actually come up, but some of them are actually going to come up in next few years, and you are going to deal with a lot of artificial intelligence around you, right? Even a person is going to deal with a lot of artificial intelligence around them. Most of the companies are going to provide the solutions. Now, with all this background, uh, I have tried to incorporate this artificial intelligence into the field of electricity price forecasting. See, we are talking about deregulated markets. So, in deregulated markets, that means we have got a lot of buyers and lot of generators, lot of consumers and lot of generators. So, with a lot of generators coming up to one place, then there is a price discovery which needs to be done. That means we need to know that what is going to be the price of electricity for the next hour. In India, the price of electricity is fixed. It is some units which is fixed throughout the day, but it is not same in other parts of the world. For example, Germany, for example, United States, for example, UK or France, in all these parts of the country, Norway, all these parts of the country, the price is varying with respect to the change in load. That means you might have some price at 11 a.m. and the price might change at 12 because 12 happens to be the uh, peak load hour for them. So the price is not same. So what people or what companies try to do is they need to know the price so that they can schedule their purchase of electricity from the grid at that particular price, so that they have to give the least price. Or the generation companies should know that this is going to be the price in the future, so that they can sell their electricity to the grid at a higher price to increase their profit. Okay, is this clear, guys? Any doubt till this?
No, sir.
Okay, so in price forecasting, we are essentially considered about forecasting the market clearing price. So I'm not going to go in detail that what how we calculate the market clearing price and all those things. So I'm just going to say that for price, we are interested in knowing the market clearing price. So what we essentially do is we actually make the total demand curve and total generation curve, and we draw the curve on the same graph, so that the point at which it cuts is actually known as the market clearing price for that particular moment. There are generally 96 divisions of the 24 hours which are done for calculating this MCP or market clearing price. Right, and now the question, yes, any doubt?
No, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay. Now the question that arises is that why we need to have this market clearing price, or why we need to um, go for electricity price forecasting. What is so unique about this? So first thing is that the electricity is actually a commodity. It is now a commodity in some of the countries where we have got smart grids, and it is non-storable. That means it cannot be stored. Then it has got a seasonal behavior. That means the load pattern will change depending upon the seasons. Transportability is an issue. You cannot transport the electricity from one place to another without any loss or something like that. The loss is there. And more importantly is the volatility. What do you mean by the volatility? Volatility is that the price of the electricity in these countries might go up or come down drastically without any uh, sign. That means if the temperature goes down, then people start using heater, and the prices of electricity might go up. So stocks are generally volatile in nature, but electricity is more volatile than any other stock that you can think of, right? So the electricity price can be influenced by the fuel prices, the prices of coal or any other fuel that you are using for generating it, generation unit operating cost, weather conditions, and balance between the overall system supply and demand ratio. As the demand goes up, that means whenever there is a peak demand, the electricity price will go high. Whenever the demand reduces, like in night time, when the demand comes down but the generation is at the same level, then the prices might reduce. And this is the concept why the concept of demand response has now coming to the smart grid. So I'm not going to discuss that. Right. So what are the factors that influence the price? Is electric power demand, demand of the power, then weather conditions, fuel cost, available transmission capacity, and generation reserves. So these are the important factors which actually control the electricity price. And we have taken the demand as, sorry, one of the important factors which actually control the electricity price than other factors. Now, based on the time horizon, we can actually divide electricity price forecasting into three different terms, which that is short-term forecasting, medium-term, and long-term forecasting. So short-term forecasting is what you also known as day-ahead forecasting, यानी कि कल की price हम एक दिन आगे 24 hours ahead we do the forecasting, so that we may know that what's going to be the price tomorrow. Then medium-term forecasting is generally done for uh, 1 month to 3 months or 6 months, mainly for making the contracts between the suppliers and consumers. And long-term forecasting, that is for more than 1 year or maybe 6 months to 12 months, the forecasting is done. And this is done for knowing that what is going to be the load pattern in the future. हो सकता है कि हमारा लोड बहुत बढ़ने वाला है, तो हमको कितना जनरेशन कैपेसिटी, हाउ मच generation capacity do I have to increase. So that is for making the planning, for distribution planning of the smart grids, that if the load pattern may increase by 20% in coming year, then I need to plan accordingly कि I have to increase the generation by at least 20%. So for making all these plans, we go for long-term forecasting. Right. So first model that I'm going to discuss is a model of artificial neural network, which is optimized using an environment and adaptation method algorithm, right? So there are a lot of methods which are already available, which are called as uh, time series models. For example, ARIMA and GARCH. There are so many models which are available, but these models are not able to capture the seasonality and volatility that is present in the series. Moreover, these models are also called as parametric models because the parameters need to be defined before we start forecasting, right? So what we have done is we have actually gone for this is actually the typical volatility values, the values of volatility in different items. So stock has got volatility of 1 to 1.5%. Similarly, electricity markets can have volatility up to 50%. And that is why the concept of electricity price forecasting is very important. Guys, is the screen visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Visible.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay. So because of these issues that the linear time series models are not able to capture this volatility, they are not able to capture the seasonality, and moreover these are parametric models, so that their parameters need to be defined before we start forecasting. So if there is any deviation in the parameters, if there is, if the parameters were not defined correctly, then the linear time series models might not give you the correct results. So what we have done is we have actually included the concept of artificial neural networks, in the forecasting, electricity price forecasting. And the basic behind is that artificial neural networks are actually black box model which can actually model any non-linear system with ease. You need not to provide any parameters. आपको कुछ भी define नहीं करना है. आप एक model लीजिए, it's a black box model, and अगर वो the model will automatically adapt itself to the data. So we have gone for ANN based models, right? ANNs are adaptive and data driven, so it doesn't need the model to be specified or make any priori assumption about the statistical information about the data. यानी कि हमको कुछ भी डेटा के बारे में या मॉडल के बारे में हमको पहले से प्री डिफाइंड नहीं करना है. We can just take a model and use it. So it is easier to use. Secondly, it can have all the inputs that you can think of. जो हम सोच सकते हैं वो सारे इनपुट हम ANN को दे सकते थे, and the results are better as compared to the linear time series models. Right. So the first model that we have used is basically an artificial neural network, and these are the selection of the proper ANN is the first thing that you should consider. So there are a lot of artificial neural networks which are available in the literature. So you can take any artificial neural network from the literature that is more suited for your kind of application, and you can use that for doing the forecasting. We have simply used an artificial neural network, simple ANN जो होता है, that we have used for doing the forecasting. Now, after selecting the ANN architecture, the next important issue is the determination of network parameters. Total number of parameters depend upon the total number of the connection between the neurons and bias terms. Hello. So we need to know that how much should neurons should be there, how many hidden layers should be there, what should be the error function, what should be the learning algorithm. So all these things need to be known before we use that network for forecasting, right? And the selection of hidden layers or neurons is actually, there is no, what you can say, there is no written way of doing it. There is no analysis or there is no methodology which can tell you that these many number of hidden layers or these many number of neurons you should have in your artificial neural network. So this is actually done by hit and trial basis. This is actually done using the hit and trial basis. I use a network, I use say one or two number of hidden layers, then I see that what is the output, whether it is giving me the correct output or not. If not, then I'll go back and I'll change the number of hidden layers, I'll change the number of neurons, and I'll again see that how the output is affected by this thing. So this is the graph which is showing the, we have used the data for two electricity markets, that is New South Wales, it is in Australia, and the one in PJM electricity market, that's in America. So this is the correlation between the load data and the price data, just to see that how the load and the price, they are dependent on each other, and with the variation of one, how the second is varying. This one is for the PGM data that we have seen. So by these graphs, we are actually able to tell you that the two are quite correlated. That means the load and the price, they are highly dependent on each other. Or we can say that the price is dependent on the load data. So their correlation factor is very high. Now, in order to pre-process the data that we have seen, we have gone for wavelet transform. Wavelet transform is again is one of the methods which convert the data with the information related to the time and frequency. Or this thing is what is required in the case of electricity price, because electricity price is a non-stationary series. So we require the time as well as frequency related information for this particular series. So by using the wavelet transform, we have converted the series into the approximate and detail series. Now these approximate and detail series contains the information related to the time and frequency of the data. फोरियर सीरीज जो है वहाँ पर सिर्फ टाइम से रिलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन होती है, और एक शॉर्ट टाइम फोरियर ट्रांसफॉर्म और है जहाँ पे टाइम और फ्रीक्वेंसी दोनों की ही रिलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन होती है, लेकिन उसमें हम जो विंडो साइज है उसको हम पहले से ही डिफाइन कर देते हैं, इसलिए इट इज़ नॉट एबल टू tell the correct information about the signal. So in this case we have gone for wavelet transform, and this is the difference related to the wavelet transform, that what is the difference between the Fourier transform and wavelet transform. So you can see that the Fourier is only giving the information related to the time. It is just giving me that which frequency is present at what time. But in case of wavelet transformer, I am getting both the information. I am getting the information related to time as well as the frequency. So we have used the discrete wavelet transforms, and I have in this particular work I am basically going for 3 level of decomposition. That means I am getting one approximate series, that is A3, and 3 detailed series D1, D2 and D3. Now this basically the level of decomposition and the order of decomposition, it is basically calculated by doing the kurtosis and skewness analysis of the data that I'm not going to present here, right? So in the proposed work, we have used the wavelet of order 4 with 3 level of decomposition. So order of the wavelet is 4 and the level of decomposition is 3. Now we have done the kurtosis and skewness analysis for the data in order to calculate this order and level. So this is the result that we are getting. So you can see that if S is the original signal, you can see that this A3 is a signal which is resembling the signal closely. अगर हम A2 और A1 को लेंगे तो वो ओरिजिनल सिग्नल हो जाएगा, उसमें हमको कुछ ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलेगी नहीं. और A3 के ऊपर जितने भी वेरिएंट्स हैं, जितने भी अप्रॉक्सीमेट सीरीज हैं A4, A5, A6 और A7, उसमें कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है, राइट. तो A3 जो है वो क्लोजेस्ट रिजेंबल कर रहा है S को, इसलिए वी हैव गॉन फॉर दिस 3 level of decomposition. Then the mother wavelet that we have chosen for this work is Daubachy's mother wavelet, क्योंकि बाकी सारी जो wavelets हैं वो basically for this work is not present in the history. People have used somewhere Haar wavelet also, but that is not giving the very promising results. So we have used the Daubachy's family of wavelet. It's an orthogonal family of wavelet. तो वो मैं डिस्कस नहीं करूंगा कि कैसे हमने उस वेवलेट को सेलेक्ट किया, लेकिन सिलेक्शन ऑफ मदर वेवलेट एक इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है जब हम वेवलेट ट्रांसफॉर्म करते हैं. एंड द अदर एस्पेक्ट इज द सिलेक्शन ऑफ ऑर्डर एंड द लेवल ऑफ डिकम्पोजिशन, बिकॉज दे डिसाइड दैट how the data is going to be presented to the neural network and how the output is going to depend on these values. Like these are the input that I have basically given to the neural network. So time of the day of the week, because the load essentially depends upon time of the day and day of the week. And then you have got historical price for 1 day before, 2 day before, and 3 day before. Then historical demand for 1 day before, 2 day before, and 3 day before. Right? So we have decided not 3 days, it's actually 1 week. तो ये हमने डिसाइड किया था कि कैसे हम क्या क्या इनपुट इसको देंगे. दिस इज द model. So we have taken the data, right? Now we have given the data to the wavelet transform. तो wavelet transform को जो हमने 3 लेवल में डिकम्पोज किया, तो हमारे पास 4 series आई, which are 1 approximate series and 3 detail series D1, D2 and D3, and 1 approximate series A3. इन सीरीज को हमने इंडिविजुअल इनवर्स वेवलेट ट्रांसफॉर्म किया so that we get the series in time. So we have got now series in time for D1, D2 and D3 in T, which is T means in time domain. Similarly A3 in time domain. क्योंकि ये जो A3 सीरीज है ये आफ्टर वेवलेट आई है, तो आफ्टर वेवलेट जो आएगा वो टाइम और फ्रीक्वेंसी दोनों डोमेन में होगा, और जब हमने इनवर्स वेवलेट कर लिया तो इट कम्स बैक टू द time domains. And then all these series were actually individually given to the 4 different artificial neural networks with same kind of input, and we give the output of the we aggregate the output of the ANNs in order to get the forecasted value. So this is again the model of the wavelet transform that we have used, right? And then we have made a difference according to the, or we have changed the training algorithms as well in order to see that how the impact of training methods is making on the output of the artificial neural network. तो मैंने artificial neural network में आपको बताया था कि एक तो हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हम टाइप ऑफ न्यूरल नेटवर्क को सिलेक्ट करें, यानी कि कौन सा आर्किटेक्चर हम यूज करना चाहते हैं. इट विल अगेन डिपेंड अपॉन कि कौन सा आर्किटेक्चर किस पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम के लिए ज़्यादा यूज होता है. Then second is we decide that how many hidden layers are going to be there, how many hidden neurons are going to be there, what is going to be the value of bias, and so that weights and everything. And other important thing is that what kind of algorithm I'm going to use for training the artificial neural network. Generally आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि जो algorithm हम use करते हैं that is back propagation learning algorithm, BP, right? But we have got several other algorithms. So we have seen that how these values, we have compared the output of all these algorithms to see that how the training methods are actually going to change the output of artificial neural network. तो ये हमने एक्चुअल को कोट किया, उसके बाद हमने सारे ट्रेनिंग मेथड्स को इसमें से चूज किया, और जो ग्रीन रिजल्ट है यानी कि वन विद द डॉट, वन द ब्लैक डॉट, it is the method that is actually closely following this curve. So we get to know that the training method 3 is actually suiting the
वैल्यू 24 ली है और n की वैल्यू 9 ली है, तो 24 क्योंकि 9 से बड़ा है तो आपका क्या चलेगा?
हेलो
m में क्या आ जाएगा? 24.
Sir, please continue. I think some disturbance from the participant it was.
अच्छा, तो ठीक है. तो जब हमने ट्रेनिंग मेथड 3 लिया तो हमने देखा कि ट्रेनिंग मेथड 3 हमारा क्लोजली फॉलो कर रहा है जो हमारा ओरिजिनल प्राइस ग्राफ था. देन वी हैव सेड दैट द ट्रेनिंग मेथड 3 इज एक्चुअली सूटिंग the kind of problem that we are dealing more as compared to other training methods. So we have used this training method. These are the fitting results, that how the target data and the output data is. So first we have seen that how the fitting is done, right? तो अगर R की वैल्यू जो है, अगर if it is close to 0.9 या 0.95, then we say that the neural network has fit well. तो इसका मतलब हम ये मान के चलते हैं कि जो हमारा न्यूरल नेटवर्क है उसमें जो डेटा पॉइंट्स हमने दिए हैं वो उसको ढंग से फिट कर रहे हैं, और जो आउटपुट है वो इट इज गोइंग टू बी मोर प्रिसाइज एज कंपेयर टू अदर मेथड्स, राइट? तो ये हमारे कर्व्स हैं जो रिजल्ट्स हमारे आए. तो यहाँ तक हमने क्या देखा कि न्यूरल नेटवर्क को हमने यूज़ किया इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्राइस फोरकास्टिंग के लिए, और एंड वी हैव गॉट सम रिजल्ट्स. बट द प्रॉब्लम विद दीज रिजल्ट्स इज दैट कि इनिशियली जब हमने न्यूरल नेटवर्क को स्टार्ट किया था यूज़ करना, देन वी हैव यूज द रैंडम वेट्स. जो इनिशियल वेट्स की वैल्यू है, यानी कि जो हमारे वेट्स हैं फॉर अ टिपिकल इनपुट, वी हैव टेकन देम एज रैंडम. सो वी आर नॉट वेरी श्योर कि वो जो वेट्स की वैल्यू हमने ली है वो न्यूरल नेटवर्क को आगे कितना हेल्प कर रहे हैं इन गेटिंग द राइट रिजल्ट्स. देन वी हैव डन व्हाट वी हैव डन इज वी हैव यूज्ड एन ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एल्गोरिथम टू optimize the weights of neural network so that we can give the correct results, right? So again, in this process, we have used an algorithm which is improved environment adaptation method, which is being developed by one of our colleagues in Abiniti only. So I've tried using that algorithm for because it has given the results better than PSO. So he has got some paper which he has published related to this environment adaptation method, and he has shown that this particular algorithm is giving results which are better than PSO. Then I've used this method, and I'm not going to discuss the algorithm here, but with this algorithm we have actually tried to optimize the weights of artificial neural networks that we were taken in the starting. So instead of now taking the randomized neural network weights, we are actually taking the optimal value of these neural network weights. And what we have seen is that the results have improved. By doing the optimization of the neural network weights, we are now able to get the good results. So you can see that in this particular graph, you can see that the blue line indicates the actual price, and this red line actually indicates the forecasted price. So you can see that it is actually trying to follow the results. It is trying to follow the actual price. So we can say that the method that we are using is actually trying to follow the actual price very closely. So the error that is there is reduced. First, let me tell you that no forecasting method can give you 100% accurate results. So any forecasting method that you get is actually going to give you some results, but it is going to be permissible within some kind of error limit. So again, these are the results for different markets and different times in the year. This is the table that is being shown. Now, further what we have done is, further we have actually, in the first case, we have used the simple artificial neural network. That's a complete network with a lot of neurons and hidden layers and everything. So what happens is that because of this, it falls in the problem of local optima, and somehow the computational complexity also increases with the increase in number of hidden layers and number of neurons. So we have tried replacing the same by using the single neuron model, which we called as generalized neuron model. It is being proposed by some professor, right? So what it does is, the difference is that instead of having a complete network, that network is being replaced by a single neuron in this case, and that neuron is what you call as generalized neuron model, right? So we have got different inputs which are coming to this neuron. So the complete neuron is divided into two parts, the sigma part and the pi part. So the inputs which are going to the sigma part are actually given to the Gaussian function, and the inputs which are given to the pi part are actually passed through the...
Sir, your PPT is not visible. Can you please, sir, can you present again? Your PPT is not visible.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that my PPT is not visible.
There is some issue. Please, sir, upload again, please. Present again.
Is it visible now? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Okay. I don't know why the PPT is not being shared. Is it visible now, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, now it is visible.
Okay. So what I was telling is ki, for the earlier part, we have used the artificial neural network, which has got a lot of neurons, hidden layers, right? So because of the use of a lot of neurons and hidden layers, what happens, the computational complexity increases. Secondly, it falls to the problem of local optima, right? And sometimes it is not able to give you the desired results. So we have tried replacing that neural network by the single neuron architecture that we call as generalized neuron model. So in this, if you can see on the screen, you can see that there is just one neuron in this case, right? And all the input is being coming to this particular neuron. This neuron is actually divided into two parts, sigma part and the pi part. So the output of the sigma part is being given to the sigmoidal function, and the output of the pi part is being given to the Gaussian function, and then the output of these two parts are summed up to get the overall output of the neuron. So we can say that the overall output of the neuron is given as W here represents the weight of the sigma part into the output of sigma part, plus 1 minus W is because the total weights for sigma part and pi part is going to be 1. So the weight of the pi part will be 1 minus the weight of the sigma part into the output of pi part. So we sum these two parts, the output of these two parts, in order to get the complete output of the neuron. Is the screen changing now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have used the algorithm of back propagation through time, यानी कि हमने इसमें back propagation through time learning algorithm use करी है. So what we have done is पहले हमने output of the sigma part calculate करा by using this expression. मैं बहुत डिटेल में नहीं समझा रहा हूँ, अगर किसी को मेरे को इससे बात करनी है प्रोग्राम के बारे में then they can contact me because time भी हो रहा है, right? फिर हमने output of the pi part को calculate करा, फिर हमने ओवरऑल आउटपुट ऑफ द न्यूरॉन कैलकुलेट करा, एंड देन वी हैव कैलकुलेटेड द एरर. सो एरर इज बेसिकली गिवन एज द डिजायर्ड आउटपुट माइनस द एक्चुअल आउटपुट. सो वाई आई हियर रिप्रेजेंट्स द डिजायर्ड आउटपुट एंड ओ आई रिप्रेजेंट्स द एक्चुअल आउटपुट ऑफ द न्यूरॉन. एंड देन वी हैव यूज्ड दिस फंक्शन दैट वी कॉल एज सम स्क्वायर एरर फंक्शन, जो हमने एरर का बनाया था, एंड वी हैव गिवन दिस फंक्शन टू द algorithm for changing the weights of the, because this is what you do in training. So once you train a neural network, you are essentially changing the weights. तो जैसे जैसे weight को आप change करते रहते हैं, वो automatically neural network को हम कहते हैं that the training is taking place, right? तो इस particular work में हमने क्या करा था? Just a minute, guys. इस पर्टिकुलर वर्क में हम लोगों ने we have used different error functions instead of just sum square error function, and we have seen that if we change the error function from simple sum square error function to all these functions, then how the output of the neuron is going to change, right? So we have plotted that how this different error functions are optimizing with respect to number of iterations, given that all are starting from the same place, then how the optimization is taking place. So you can see that the hyperbolic error function is optimizing in a faster way as compared to other error functions. So now in the further work, we have used a hyperbolic error function instead of sum squared error function, and then we have actually compared the results of the neural network with hyperbolic error function as the function which is given to learning algorithm, and the output of the neuron with learning algorithm which is given as sum squared error function as one of the function, right? So we see that the network with hyperbolic error function has given us the better results as compared to the sum square error function. Now with these two algorithms, the last algorithm or the last structure that we have used is actually a latest, is what we call as fuzzy ArtMap structure. It is based on the concept of adaptive resonance theory, right? So it is based on the concept of resonance. तो इस नेटवर्क में हम क्या करते हैं, अगर मैं आपको सिर्फ नेटवर्क दिखाऊं, is the screen visible, guys?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So we have got two different architectures that we call as Art A and Art B, और एक में हम इनपुट देते हैं और दूसरे में हम टारगेट देते हैं. So for every input, the target is stored in the long-term memory of the network. So whenever the input of similar type is received by the network, it knows that for this kind of input, what is going to be the output. So this matching is basically done by using this map field, which is written in between, right? So for any additional input that we receive, it creates another, what you can say, category in the memory, and it stores that particular input in that particular category. So this particular network is now being used for various purposes, and it is used in the did this particular work by us, and it has given us the better results than the previous two parameters. Now we have also, these are basically three parameters which affect the performance of fuzzy art maps, and they are choice parameters, learning parameters और vigilance parameters. मैं बहुत डिटेल में इसलिए नहीं जा रहा हूँ क्योंकि ये 1-1.5 घंटे के लेक्चर में समझा पाना बहुत मुश्किल काम है, लेकिन मैं आपको जस्ट आई एम ट्राइंग टू गिव यू द ओवरव्यू, राइट? So we have also optimized these parameters by using the algorithm. Again, we have done the same thing. We have taken the input price series, we have done the decomposition. The input is what we have kept constant for all the networks so that we can compare the results, that how the results of the network are changing with respect to architecture. और हमने सब architectures को optimize करने की भी कोशिश करी है to get the better results, right? So we have achieved better results as compared to the previous two architectures for fuzzy ArcMap architectures, and these are given in the results below, right? So guys, what I would like to conclude is that once I say artificial neural network, hello.
Yes, sir.
So what I'd like to suggest is that once we use artificial neural network, then it is not just one network that we have. We have got a lot of architectures, right from support vector machine to self-organizing maps to your fuzzy art map, and you've got different architectures which are available in the literature. So for any problem that you are dealing with, for example, I've dealt with the problem of ANN for price forecasting. Somebody might be working in the area of image processing. So the problem is related to image processing. The network architecture will change. The input will change, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to select the architecture based on your problem. And there are a lot of advanced architectures which are available in the literature. So I request you to please go through them and see that how these architectures affect your kind of problem that you are dealing with. So thank you, Vijay. I'm done with it. If students have any query, they can ask. I just stop sharing. Yes, if you have any query, you can ask. Anyone?
Any queries from participants? Sir, we have questions in chat box. One question from Jayashri Vadin. What is the input given for pre-processing using wavelets?
Input is what I've told you, that input slides I have shown you, that input related to the time of the day of the week, then previous demand and previous price. See, how we do the forecasting is, first we take the data, right? And the data we divide it into two parts. One is used for making the model, and the last part of the data is for validation. Suppose if I'm taking the data for say 1 year, then I'll take the data for approximately 9 months for forecasting and for training the neural network, and last 3 months data I'll use for validation of the model, that whether my model is working correctly or not. That's also important. So what I'll suggest is I'll choose a data based on the model that I'm using.
Okay, sir. One more question, sir, from Vijayan Sharma. Is back propagation is also the part of training the ANN?
Yes, backpropagation algorithm is actually the algorithm which is used for changing the weights of artificial neural network. So it is not just the only algorithm, but it is uh, the oldest available algorithm for artificial neural network. People have started to work on various advanced available algorithms now, but the backpropagation is the one of the oldest available algorithms that we see. Yes, it is for changing the weights.
Okay, sir. And one question from Dr. Sailesh Iyer. He is asking about how realistic is use of intelligent humanoid in rural education.
Sir, it is very important because I think because when you talk about rural education, then I think natural language processing is what is now very important, because all of us are now listening to this lecture, which I'm talking mostly in English, but there are people who are not able to understand this lecture because of the language compulsions. Then if we have some intelligent tool so that we can convert that particular uh, lecture into the language of their choice, then it will be helpful to them. They can listen in their local language and they can get benefit from it. So I think in education, if you talk about education, then this natural language processing part is very important.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Uh, thank you so much. Any questions from participants? Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for delivering an informative and wonderful talk, which cover the about artificial intelligence and price forecasting using artificial neural network. Sir, listening you always give us new idea to work with. Hope our participants also enjoyed and learn new concept and new ideas for their research work. Thank you very much, sir, for spare your valuable time from your busy schedule for this expert lecture. Once again, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you for calling me. It's always a pleasure whenever you call, and this time it is very unfortunate that we are taking lecture online. Otherwise, we would love to come to Sonbhadra to take this lecture there.
Sure,
Hopefully, we'll
sir.
meet soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay, shall I leave now?
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir. Okay. Sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening
Thank you.
patiently. Thank you.